time to reflect, a bit of reflection. Okay. So think about some way, think about this for a moment. If you could be any way you want things to be different from how you've been, how would you want to be different? It's a bit of a mind-provoking question. But take a moment to think about where you are and take a moment to think about what you are considering to stop doing today. What is one consideration? What will I stop doing as of my learning thus far in the last few days and today? Me is going to be around modern technology. That has so far failed me. My frustrations with modern technology. Okay, so take a moment to think about that. What will I continue doing? I'll continue being calm and handle these situations really well when failed by modern technology. What am I going to do differently today? And what am I going to start doing today? Okay, so just take a moment to think. With a thought provocation. Now, the model that we have discussed is levels of change. It was developed by Robert Dilts. As you can see, the levels we briefly discussed prior to our short break. Einstein quoted, "We cannot solve our problems the same thinking we used when we created them." Okay, so what's the definition? Some people say of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting the different result. But even if you do the same things over and over again, you might not even get the same result in one sense. You might not even get the result that you desire, you could argue. So Robert Dilts pioneered back in the early days of NLP logical levels. You can trace the origins back to theory of logical types proposed by Alfred North, Whitehead and Bertrand Russell, 1910-13. One must distinguish between a class set and elements of the class. A statement that refers to a class manifests a higher level of abstraction. Bateson then took this further to consider the levels of learning, so you can sort of trace that back and read some of the work by Bateson. As a result of Bateson's work, Dilts was able to develop the logical levels of learning and change. Okay. The logical level model we're going to look at is useful for understanding change in a person, a team, a company, or working towards a goal. So in one sense you could say, okay, we can sort of take some sort of control of our life. Would it be useful? Does anyone ever feel in a situation where life sort of is spiraling? Okay. When you sort of set all your technology up to do a certain thing and you come in and someone's moved the cables and played around with, and all of a sudden, okay. And this is the second time or the third time in a week it's happened. The talk the other night, the motivational interviewing talk, and the projector was gone, and then you sort of set things up in a certain way, and you sort of really focus, you do your visualization, then you rank, and you turn up and beyond your control. Okay, someone's moved the projector, you can't find it, someone's moved the flip chart, and this beautifully designed presentation you had for 50 people or so, you're going to have to use your wealth of experience to, and in a way it works out better, ironically. That's an irony. Sometimes, every the silver lining quote. So you can examine any problem or propose change in terms of these different levels. Okay. So neurological, the notion of logical levels is that it's a way of distinguishing which part of somebody's experience they're currently paying attention to. So which part of the experience are you paying attention to, so to speak? Okay. And the model has 6 levels: environment, behaviors, capability, values, beliefs, identity, and vision. Okay. Some people divide the levels into 2 categories. The lower levels, which are environment, behavior, capabilities, and the higher level, beliefs, values, identity, spirituality, purpose, whichever way you want to frame that. Logic levels models can assist you in making a change at the so-called higher levels or help ensure your goals are in a line at all levels. Once this happens, your goals and outcomes in life become clearer. And we're going to do some practical exercises, by the way, on top of the ones that you've already done to consolidate the learning. So which level? Decide at which level you want to intervene to help bring about the change, or the level above and beyond to make that change, to break out those patterns. So generally, you're working from the environment up, okay, as a general rule. So the environment is when and where a situation is occurring, a process is happening. The when and where, okay, the situation is happening. The environment is the context of which something's happening. When, where, with whom do you do these behaviours outside one's entity. Behaviour is changing the process of the actions, what we do, what you do, the doing. Behaviour is an action, is what we are doing. So 10 people in the same environment, 9 don't succeed and 1 does because of the actions they take. In the environment, same environment, 10 people, 9 don't succeed, 1 does succeed because of the action, the behavioural action. So behaviour, what people are doing, what activity is taking place, what do people really see and experience in your behaviour. Does something need to be changed? Behaviourally. Okay? Behaviour in dialogue. People talk, the dialogue of behaviour. People, behaviour, you watch what people do. If you watch what people do, they'll tell you everything you need to know. You might say one thing, but you do something different to what you say you do. How we do something, our strategies, are capabilities. Okay? What are your capabilities? To deliver a presentation, to do a one-on-one coaching session, to do yoga. What are your capabilities? To do sound. What are your capabilities to do what you do? What strategy do you have in place, or strategy? Capabilities are internal. In NLP, where the model determines how we act, how we know what to do, where and when to do it. Skills and strategy. How what is going on is happening. The difference between capability and behaviour. Behaviour is the end result of a capability. The end result of that process, behavioural process, is capability. Okay, so you may know what to do and how to do it. So the behaviour, you can do it because you've got the capability. So you've got the capability to make a phone call, to ask for something, to deliver an intervention, a speech. Okay. You may have the confidence and motivation to do it, desire to do it. Beliefs and values are what's important to you. How you evaluate what is right and what is wrong. We talked yesterday about company values. Now, what are some of the problems with company values that we highlighted yesterday?
You want to believe in them, or you want to have those same values.
What they mean to you might mean something different to me. So you tell me to behave with integrity, or you tell me to behave in a certain way. Well, what that means to me means something different to you. Then what's the potential problem with that? If I believe I'm behaving with in accordance to a value, and you believe you're behaving in accordance to a value, precisely, what's potentially going to happen? Precisely. One could make the argument that most conflicts, wars and stuff, are in the name of beliefs and values. So, defending freedoms and so on and so forth. So, we can evaluate what's important to us, what's right or wrong, what drives us as an individual, at least what we hold to be true. It's your own assumption. So you've got fact and opinion. Okay, what's fact and what's opinion? Is the 13-mile run a long way to run? Is that a fact or opinion? Okay, so if I say it's a long way to the end of the room, is that a fact or is that opinion? From me to the door. Yeah, and why is it an opinion? Because someone who's got arthritis, severe arthritis, that might be a long way for them. Or it might be a long way if it's on top of a building. But if I measure with a tape measure and it comes back as 10 metres, you know, hypothetically, is that fact or opinion? As fact as you're going to get, unless we change the metric system. You know, is the world flat or is it round? Well, I came to the conclusion a few weeks ago. I was standing on a beautiful sunny day in Eastbourne, you know, Beachy Head Cliffs. I was watching over Beachy Head Cliffs, and it was at that point I had this big realisation: the Earth must be round, because the elevation of the cliffs and where France is, 60 miles away, I should be able to see the horizon. So I realised, well, I can't see the horizon, but I can see, you know, Brighton to the right of me and and Eastbourne to the left, and here I was stuck in the middle. So I realised that actually the Earth might actually be round. Any, you know, I'm going to have someone debate me on that now. But so beliefs, why we do things a certain way in the context of this, they can enhance or limit our capabilities. Okay. And we know that. We know that from yesterday. We said, I mentioned, not that I know any of these two people, by the way, but you know, you watch press conferences, and I mentioned that one manager in football who's won so many awards and, you know, so well, you know, looked up to and so on and so forth. Apart from one person in the room, he doesn't look at him that way because he's a fan. He knows what's to come. Okay, but you know, we said that after the press conference on TV, if you watched it, the last game at Wembley, Kevin Keegan says, "I am not cut out for this level." Now he's got qualification. You know, he's played the game at the highest level. He's a very inspiring character. And then you got the other dude. He's like unveiled at a football club. He's a translator. You know, he is a translator. And ironically, I had a conversation with someone who worked very closely with him. You go on the radio, and this is one of my shows recently, I conversed with a coach who I know really well, who worked with Jose Mourinho, Roger Spry, and he told me his belief, man, his level of belief. Now, if he's got such a high level of belief, what happens to you as a player, do you think? You're thinking, wow, man. You know, but there's a fine line, isn't there? Because he comes at the press conference, you see him at Chelsea, what's he call himself? The special one. So go out there and call yourself the special one and just see what difference it makes. But the point being is that, you know, look, where do you draw the line? Anybody's guess. But can you see how beliefs makes a big difference? There's a very good chance that, you know, how much more does someone know than you about delivering a coaching presentation, a mindful presentation? You know, the conversation we had yesterday about delivering a presentation around mindfulness, and you know a lot about the area. There's people that probably know a lot less than you, but the belief they have about presenting, and they do it. And not, you know, obviously you'll do it too, but the point being is that the apprehension about doing it, you know, is that a good thing or bad? It might be a good thing, it might be bad, who knows, but the point being, it can be a limitation. So people have the capabilities to achieve the outcome or task, and you'll know from the role that you do, you know, if they don't value it or believe in it, will they succeed? You can be the best coach in the world. You can be the best coach in the world, irrespective of how good you are, how knowledgeable you are. If the person you work with does not want to do it, they're not going to do it. Okay? They've got to want to do it. You know, you can be the best driving instructor in the world. They don't want to learn to drive, they don't value it, they don't believe they can do it. So people can have the capability to achieve a task. They don't have the value or belief, they probably won't do it. So beliefs are outside of conscious awareness. You know, Kathy made a great point this morning. Is outside your awareness. A lot of time it is outside of conscious awareness. They sit under the radar, which we'll go into more detail today. Identity. As long as your identity and beliefs don't conform to you, be able to change, irrespective of your capabilities, you won't carry on doing it. So I talked about how passively I was watching this program yesterday on the chef Jamie Oliver, who teaches people to cook. Many years ago, I was watching on TV, and he went to that deprived town. He taught them to cook. So what teaching them to cook is capability and behaviour and motivation to cook well. But when he goes back a few months later, are they still cooking well?
No,
not at all. Because she turns around and says, well, it's all right for you, Jane. You've got loads of money, Jane. You can afford these good foods. And I thought, well, she's got a point. He's pretty wealthy. Well, he was then. I don't know if he is now if you read the papers, but I'm sure he can answer that question better than me. I'm sure he's ahead of me anyway. But the point being is that as good a point she may have made, she blew us out of the water because I just give my kids 20 quid to buy chippy. Now, £20 back a year ago, even now, you know, it gets you a few groceries, man. So the identity, we don't do this here, okay? And that impacts how one defines who they are, impacts their behaviour, the motivation to do it. The belief does not change. What's going to change? I mean, you got damn self-help books for self-help books these days. Why can't people change? The literature's out there. If you go to the bookstore, you'll see it's inundated with self-help books. There's loads out there. We've got the answers. But people can't even stop eating ice cream, you know, smoking, and, you know, people vapouring away and putting chemicals into their lungs, you know, blowing it everywhere, and, you know, everywhere you walk these days, they're, you know, puffing towards, you know. That's one of my irritants, by the way. I need some, can someone give me some sort of relaxation technique? You know, when people start vapouring, and now that people know my weakness, they're going to start doing it. They just blow that steam of chemicals, and they can't even control that. So what damn chance have you got? So the point being is that, you know, things are deeper, aren't they? They're emotionally driven. Identity can be a feeling, the sense of who. How you define who you are affects your sense of identity and your sense of self-worth. Especially in the Western world, we put so much emphasis on what you do professionally. So what do you do?
Yeah.
You know, the first thing anyone says, not are you a decent person, nothing else comes into the equation. So what do you do, man? It's like, well, you know, and everyone's like jostling for social status. You know, precisely. No one ever says, I'm just an absolute bum, man. I do nothing. You know, I just sit about all day and philosophize. Yeah, and it's like and you know, it's like this, and the danger with that, if you sweep that from underneath someone's feet, then what do they do then? If you put all your self-worth on what you do, you know, professionally, it leaves you really open in many ways, because you get your validation. Some great people out there, you know, but when, well, that's right. When they retire, who are they? And also, if someone changes, transition, if they go from, say, being a professional, then maybe they go to being a parent. They might be a parent, a stay-at-home mum or a dad, and looking after children, which is a huge role. It's a massive role. You know, bringing up children, you know, is a tough role, man. And they sort of undermine that skill. They don't see it as a skill, and they sort of see, wow, you know, that in itself is a much bigger job than many other jobs that we'll ever have. You know, but one thing can knock on the others. The identity is sort of like a domino. As human beings, we're deeply driven by a sense of who we are. I is a capital letter, denoting the importance we place on ourselves as individuals. A bit of homework for you, not necessarily homework, but at lunchtime, just sit around the bar and just see how many times you hear the word I. I. Me, I. You know, the first person people look at when they look at a picture is who? Exactly. You know, and as Descartes said, it was before my time too, by the way, before people started. You know, I think, therefore I am. Many social theories are based on creating or preserving our sense of identity. And just look at the advertising campaigns and, you know, people, the ads you see on TV, it's all about identity. Identity politics, identity this, identity that. Okay. You lose a job, you lose your identity. You know, you go from being this top sports person everybody loves and wants the autograph, you know, till all of a sudden you go to the newspaper shop and not even the person who works in there recognises you no more. Nobody wants your autograph no more because you're no longer the person who plays it for 70,000 people.
That must be difficult, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, all of a sudden you go from adulation, everyone wants to know you, everyone loves you, quote unquote. All of a sudden you're walking down the road and it's like, you know, What do you want? Type thing. You put petrol in the car, no one knows who you are. You go to the restaurant, you know, and you think that they recognise you, but they're after a tip, and you know, you're trying to drop the hint. Do you know who I am?
Who are you?
Exactly, exactly. So they sing on the terraces of who are you? Exactly. So you know, it starts. Identity starts in early life as an infant. When the infant starts separating from the mother in what they previously viewed as the undifferentiated units. So one day you look at yourself in the mirror and you get a ah! Who the hell is that?
Every morning.
Yeah, exactly. You should have got over that. It's alright. We'll chat at lunchtime, mate. Don't worry, I understand. It's got worse for me. The last few years, I can't stand the sight of me. They've gone from the shock beyond the trauma now. It's like, yeah, yeah. So I mirror yourself, and the thing is, the infant is a shock because it's a separate being. All of a sudden, you go from thinking I'm one entity. So no, I'm not. Wow, and that brings a lot of problems, a lot of trauma. So when we talk about change, the trauma of change is huge, isn't it? So you know, change can be really traumatic because you're doing something that you're familiar with that's working for you to a point. All of a sudden, you're not doing it no more. It can be damn traumatic. So I say extend the comfort zone rather than sink or swim. Frightening. It can almost like regress you back to that point of which I'm a separate being. And what does a separate being bring with you? What does it bring when you know you're a separate being? What are the issues that brings? Knowing one is separate. Well, you've got to fend for yourself, man. You know, you're going to have to fend for yourself. You're 2-year-old now, you know, that's it. You've got to make your own food and cook your own thing, and it's pretty daunting. And as human beings, we're one of the most dependent species. Because any other animal is born, and they're out there within a few weeks, and we take forever. I mean, some people still live at home at 50-year-old, man, you know what I mean, as they do. And you know, so the young child typically turns to a teddy, toy or a doll through which they know their own identity in that respect. So does anyone still have their doll they used to have? Or time to put it away now. Yeah. With this transition object, so-called by psychoanalysts, Donald Winnicott, you like his work? I like his work. He was a therapist and he comes out now. There is removed a part of identity lost, causing distress and tears. Is anyone still upset about the teddy they got taken away, or anyone still keep it in the cupboard and or keep it for good measure? You know, anyone seen the film Ted, by the way? Yeah. But
My dad loves that.
It's an emotional film, isn't it? Yeah. But the reality is, it's psychoanalysts. See, I'm a deep person. I don't just watch films for the sake of watching them. I analyse them, man. Yeah. I'm like, this guy, he's attached here. You take that teddy away. Yeah. You know, how dare she try and strip that teddy bear away from the guy?
Yeah.
You know, I tell you, it's ridiculous. It's like telling someone to change their football team. You know, if someone comes into your life and says change your football team, they're gone. No change.
And in film, something always goes wrong.
Well,
Every
absolutely.
film, otherwise it wouldn't be a film, would it?
Precisely. And you know, the pattern continues through our lives with identity possessions and things around us. We feel bad when it's changed or lost. You know, we continue to identify with possession, our social status, and so on and so forth. When it's changed, you know, it's a big thing.
Does that go down to attachment?
Well, we do get attached to things, absolutely. But identity, who are you and what role do you play in the context of the situation? And finally, we have a vision, how the person fits into the rest of the system, for whom or for what. Okay? Is your purpose crystal clear? Clarify your purpose, the realization of the vision. The purpose being the impact you wish to have. Okay? The vision, the purpose of the role. Now we're going to do a little exercise as we go along. Let's sort of keep this real. Does anyone want to play ball or do an exercise? We can do this for a number of things. So on the subject of goals, you pick a goal you've got, and if you want to write that goal down, it could be career, it could be different presentation. whatever. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be a grandiose goal, by the way. It can be a goal just to go home and tidy your room. And seriously, the small goals are really important, by the way. The small goals, if you want to call them them, are huge, because incrementally. So many people these days have got their mind fixed on this big goal. I'm going to be that TV star. I'm going to be that sports star. I'm going to be, not thinking there's only so many people that can be. There's tens of thousands of people trying to be that football star, that TV star, And what really resonated with me one time, and what happens when you sort of become so focused and consumed on the one thing? You consume so much energy. You forget. It's like, I was sitting in a bar in California one time, and I was in coffee, and I had a conversation with the dude, and he asked me what I do, and I said what I do, and I said, what do you do? How long have you been here for? And he's like, well, undermining the job you have, in the sense that I'm an actor. He said, well, at this moment in time you're not. You work in the bar, and the point being, it's almost like beneath oneself. Now, look, I've worked in many, many different fields, especially when I was young, in factories and that sort of stuff, and one goes into every situation doing the best they can, to the best of their ability. So for me, sometimes when we talk about goals, the goal could be getting a full-time job and valuing it and appreciating it. I'm not saying to stay there if that's not what you want to do and not have aspirations, but equally we live in this sort of society. Well, it's all about the parents. Sometimes you see parents telling their kids that you can be anything you want to be and you can be whatever, and that's very noble. That's great to a point. But if you fill your children's head with that sort of stuff, when they go out in the big wide world, not only the pressure but the reality, they apply for a job and they realise you don't get I'm not so special now. I've applied for 50 jobs and am I really that special? They come along and your child shows you a piece of art that they've done, and you say, what a great picture that is. That's, Michelangelo will be proud of that. It's just a scribble, man. It's just a useless scribble. Not that you want to tell them that, but but telling them it's as good as Michelangelo, and they keep doing that, what's going to happen in the end? So there's nothing wrong with you having truths as a parent, but these days a lot of parents, they want to be their children's best friends and teachers too. You see it in teaching world, and this sort of new age type thing about you can be whatever you want to be and you can do. No, you can't, man. Because if you could, then we'd all be doing whatever you want to do on a day-to-day basis. It takes hard work, dedication, persistence, desire. You don't just wake up out of bed one day and decide I want to be a neurosurgeon. You don't wake up and want to be a pilot. You've got to work hard to get there. And mediocrity is not good. If you don't want to take my word for it and you think, objectively, we've got people here, our team, leaders, you take them on board your team. You have a whole generation of people who think that they are better than what they are, and see how far you get in battle. Because metaphorically speaking, it's tough, isn't it? You've been told that you're so special for so long, you're so great and grandiose, and all of a sudden you tell them, actually, can you do that? No, I'm above that. I've been told I'm great. So the fine line is key, isn't it? So what I'm getting at when you're doing a goal, it's not just about these sort of grand delusions of grandeur. It's about setting solid goals, solid people. And we've got in this group, seriously some great, strong, solid people in the room that to people can aspire to be like. No one's perfect, so to speak, but the basic things you can do, things that you talk about you can do and stuff like that, and they're a sign of strength. Who was it in this group that mentioned they did a speech at a funeral? I think it was. Was it someone in this group or? Yeah, that's a big deal, man, to do that. It takes a lot of emotional strength, and that's a goal. Why not tell a young person to have that as a goal? To have the emotional strength to stand up in those trying needs. Not just, a goal like I want to be on the X Factor and sing to 10 million people when one person can do it out of how many. That's a goal a lot of people couldn't do. That's going to mould your identity into a good, strong person in society, which we need more. Does that sort of make sense? When we talk about goals, you can do that as well. So, you know, the goal could be passing a driving test, new business, career, whatever. It doesn't matter at this moment in time. But now create an image. So this is where you can close your eyes and create the image if you want. If you're comfortable closing your eyes. If you decide to close your eyes, I promise I won't tickle you. Okay, so if you close your eyes and create an image of what you want. So it could be standing in front of a group at Toastmasters speaking, and it could be team leading, it could be doing a yoga class, and no matter what it is, it could be a book, and really create the image of what you want it to be at some point in the future. Now, what you can do is imagine marking 2 spots on the floor, one to represent today, and one at a time in the future where you'll have achieved the outcome. The distance between the 2 spots should be what feels right for you. Now, stand on your future spot and imagine what it's like having achieved your goal. So you've got the goal, okay, and imagine intensifying the goal. The qualities, the imagery, the sound, the brightness, increase the colour, the contrast, make it bigger, bring it in closer, turn up the volume, listen to the sound, have the sounds tuned so there's no interference, step into the picture, and notice the feelings of satisfaction of achieving the goal, achieving the goal. And now what I'd like you to do is imagine laying the cards at equal interval, standing in the future, being the now, a spot represented today, and now just stand at a spot beyond the future and look back a view of today, who is just starting on their journey to achieving the goal. Notice how it feels having achieved your outcome. From this position, what have you got to say to the you of today? Have you any words or any advice? Okay. Don't take too long to process that. Just go with your unconscious mind. And now we're going to sort of move to the identity card and ask yourself how you have changed. Now you have the outcome. How you've changed. Now you've got the outcome. What is different about you? What role are you now playing that you weren't playing before? Okay? Take some time to process that. Before we move into the beliefs space, I want you just to break state in your mind, think you're going to backwards, and now just unscramble the mind and go into that card of belief, the vision of belief, the eyes closed, you come to close your eyes, and if any, notice how your values have changed. What's important to you, if any, and how your beliefs have changed in order to achieve the goal. To achieve the goal. What do you believe differently to what you didn't believe before? Now you've got the goal. Now you move to capability spot. How have your capabilities changed? What did you learn along the way? What capabilities did you learn along the way to achieve the goal? And just before you move into the behaviour, just once again, think you're going backwards and in behaviour. What did you do differently along the way? What are you doing differently now? You've got the goal. An environment. You've got the goal. When and where are you doing the goal, or any differences in the environment, in the process of getting the goal, the doing of the goal. And now, in your own time, in your own pace, just gradually come back to the here and now. Okay? And as you come back to the here and now, your mind is programmed. Okay? We are going to do that technique step by step, by the way. And I'm going to sort of guide you through doing that technique. You can guide the person you work with and put cards to mark the spots. Okay? but we'll go into more detail about that after our lunch break. But the model is also useful for understanding change in a person, team or company. You can examine a problem or propose change in different terms. Okay. Generally speaking, the higher levels have more leverage than lower levels, or at least in my opinion anyway. In order to permanently solve a problem, you generally have to make change at least one level higher than the level at which the symptoms show up. The role, what's important to you, what's important is not the label for your role, is how you define your role. Because that is what has an impact on your results, how you define your role. How clear is the role of the people that work for you? In a football team, for example, yeah, you might be a right back, a left back, or left back in the change room. But what's got to be really clear is what is one's role. Where a lot of problems exist in the sport is, what's my role? What do I do? Now, I'm a striker, but what do I do? I know I need to score goals, but more importantly, how do I execute that? Being very clearly defining that. So you might be a manager, a leader. Well, what does that mean exactly? Is that, so different questions, different levels, higher levels, more abstract. Environment questions centre around the when, the where. Behavioural questions centre around the what. Capability around the how. Values, beliefs, the why. Identity, the who, not the bandit who. And the vision is the quest for the who or the what. It's useful in modelling excellence as well. Let's sort of get and solidify an understanding of this. Assume it's 10 a.m. on Monday morning, and you know what your colleagues or schedule a meeting in the environment. Okay, that's the environment where you schedule it. So Wednesday morning, the meeting. Okay, and you're given a new role, and you feel it's a demotion because you've been stripped of certain responsibilities. Okay, some possible responses are: you could go up to the boss and say, "Why?" You could tell one of your work colleagues how the boss has got it wrong. How dare he or she strip me of those responsibilities? You could start shouting and acting silly with the help of your boss. You grab the attention of the boss. You could do a handstand outside their office and just start doing that, or you could do other gestures which I shan't do. I won't call that company. But the behaviour you select, is going to depend on your capabilities and strategies. If you're confident of these, approaching the boss and asking what may be behind the decision could work for you. Knock on the door. Excuse me. If you're not confident, you could tell one of your colleagues how the boss has got it wrong. Okay, and start screaming and do everything that you probably shouldn't do. Okay, the capability you choose depends on your beliefs and values. Okay, if you believe you're an important part of the company, a performer, and have loyalty of the company, when you get an opportunity to adapt a new role, then you're asking more likely about what's happened. So you get a top footballer who's left on the bench. You can go to the papers and say how the manager's hopeless and got it wrong. I want to transfer. I want to leave. Imagine that. You left on the bench on a Saturday, and then you go to the papers, you go to the internet, and you sort of slag everybody off. The team's not great anyway, and so on and so forth. And then Monday morning, you have this realisation when your transfer request comes through. Well, actually, the manager was giving you a bit of a rest because you had a bit of a niggle, and they need you for a bigger game. What you do then, man? And that happens, doesn't it? So you're there spouting your mouth, and he's got it wrong, and I want to play every game. But the sports scientist said, well, actually, you've got a bit of a niggle. We'll give him a rest, but a much bigger game coming up. And that happens all the time, doesn't it? In business. What you believe, if you believe it's important, then obviously, you might adapt to it. It might be that, they need you to be, what you believe. This isn't change your role. You felt you were left out because of your ability. To understand the company strategy was inadequate. Even asking this, you may tell your colleagues what a position was and look for an exit strategy. I'm leaving. I'm moving on. So identity depends on your purpose in the company, the contribution, the impact you want to have, and how you define who you are. And you can use this for coaching, one-to-one coaching as well. Talked about. related to the outcome the client wants to achieve, which we did when I did the facilitation with you. So the environment, you know, what is important about where you do this and when you do it, what things outside yourself are important to take into consideration, behaviour, what actions will you use to achieve the outcome, different actions, the skills and capabilities, what skills will you develop, how will you develop them, what's the best way to use the skills, beliefs and values, what's important to you. Are these questions resonating now? Yeah. What motivates you, what beliefs you have about the outcome, you know, what are the hurdles, how can you overcome those hurdles, what values and beliefs do you hold. If you lead by example, you probably have strong values related to taking responsibility and ensuring you get the best out of your colleagues and associates around you. The values you support by a number of beliefs. The nature of a belief causes you to focus on your values and proves the belief to be true. So whatever you believe to be true, you will seek evidence to prove it and ignore the evidence to the contrary. And that has an impact on your capability. Quite simply, if you believe you can do something, you'll find a way of doing it. If you believe that you can't do something, then you won't bother look for a way. Empowering beliefs unlock capability, and limiting beliefs act as a barrier. Okay? Limiting beliefs stop you from putting effort into things, like kaleidoscope. Stuck in the same pattern, although you have the power to change it. You refrain from doing so because you're either unaware or unsure of the consequence. Once you believe it's not possible to change something, you'll find an excuse to make it true. Yeah? Excuses, man. You'll find a way, you'll find an excuse. People do a lot, don't they? Excuse, somebody else's fault. It's because of my parents, the teacher, the person next door. And I'm not saying people don't influence the situation in their life, but there's got to be a point you draw the line, okay? Because people act and do things beyond anyone's expectation. So you generate belief that's possible to achieve and put your energy in doing so. And who will you become when you achieve the outcome? Who will you grow into? The first question I asked you today was, who will you grow into? What's your vision of doing it? You know, what are your learnings from thus far? So what we're going to do, you've got questions to evaluate the changes around the environment, behaviour, ability, values, beliefs, identity and vision, the teams, individuals, organisations. So it's a useful model for understanding change in the person, a team, a company. You can examine any problem or proposed change in terms of these levels. Which level to intervene? The first step towards taking control is to identify the level at which the emotions are sending warning signals. Because if you're getting an emotional reaction, it's a warning signal. Okay, generally speaking, I said the deeper levels are more leverage than lower levels, and to permanently solve a problem, you generally have to make changes at least one level higher when the symptoms show up. Okay, we have a series of questions. Look at from an organisation point of view, what needs to change in the environment, behaviour in the organisation, the skills. So these are sort of questions that we'll come back to after the break. And I mentioned before we break, in a conversation, from a conversation point of view, okay, where is the emphasis in one's conversation? So going back to what I said earlier today, so if I relates to identity, can't relates to values, beliefs, do relates to capability, that relates to behaviour, and here relates to environment, where I emphasise my points is a strong indicator of where the problem exists. So I can't do this, that, here. Identity. I can't do that here. Emphasise belief and value. I can't do that here. Emphasises capability. I can't do that here. Emphasises behaviour. I can't do that here. Emphasises environment. Or it could be one or the other, both, or a string of a few. But irrespective of what it is, it gives you an emphasis on where the issue is. And, you know, we've talked about that before. A lot of behavioural strategies out there. A lot of courses you'll go on, do loads of behavioural strategies, loads of capabilities. Well, you know, if that was enough, the world would be perfect. There'd be no problems. There really wouldn't. There's plenty of behavioural strategies out there. Okay? So, you know, you come to a session with me and you say, well, my goal is to smoke cessation. Yeah, pretty straightforward. Don't smoke. You know, goodbye. Weight reduction. So you come to me for a session, I want to reduce in weight. So the obvious answer for me, based on my experience, eat high nutritional foods, exercise, if you're not already doing so, a bit more, and, you know, from a nutritional point of view, energy consumption. You know, you sort of, your metabolic rate, you burn so many calories a day, don't do nothing at all. Okay, maybe the calorie way of looking at things might be outdated, but they hold some truth, and it's quite simple. You come along, I'll just write it down for you. You know, eat high nutritional foods, a bit more exercise, burn a few more calories, and you're on your way. But then you sort of go up to the door and come back, I've done that before. It hasn't worked. So it's a bit deeper than that. You know, like a dude I was working with a few years ago, he was for weight reduction, and he'd been everywhere and done everything you could ever imagine to reduce, when ironically it was the identity he had around the way he had. He was like, you know, identified as this sort of larger than life character, and you know, they called him, you know, big so-and-so, and he really conformed to the identity in the sense that it gave him, you know, gratification in some sense. So it's almost like traumatic to lose that. So if he lost that, it was like, wow, the separation of self. I'm no longer this sort of, you know, big John. We'll call him that for, you know, functionality. It's like, you take that away, he's just John, man. You know? And that was deep stuff. You know, I was working with someone one time, and she was a model, and she had big issues making the transition from modelling to general employment. And one of the biggest issues was his identity, because for many years she'd been sort of, you know, portfolio, you get judged on your appearance, you get a job. But it's more when we go a bit deeper. And I said, what got you into the industry in the first place? She goes, as a child, I was sort of bullied about my appearance, and I really lacked a lot of confidence around the way I looked. So when I actually began modelling, so validating my appearance, and the more jobs I got, the more instant gratification, but it never treated under the surface. And she told me herself, she said that she felt ugly, and still did to the point, you know, however we define beauty in magazines, but the point being is that, you know, she's trying to sort of validate herself, and this career path she's chosen has given her some respite, validation, but equally the belief holds true. So, you know, the identity, the belief. So what happens is 100 people could tell you look really, really well. What does she do? She brushes over those comments. One person says, I don't like the colour of your shoes, truth be told, and she ruminates and stews over that and thinks about that and can't handle that. Is a personalised comment. Because what do we do with our beliefs? We find. We delete. Okay? So the point being is that, you know, making this transition to society is like the road under the feet, man. The trauma of the unknown. And a lot of people working with her on a behavioural level and building her up, and you got to go deep. Man, you got to go deep. And it took time to work with her, and touch wood, you know, I think started working well for her transitionally, you know, but that sort of illustrates the point, you know, how much of an impact, how one defines oneself. And just ask anybody who's retired. So you look forward to retirement all your life, you look forward to retiring in the sunset, and you get there and you think, wow, is that it? You know, I'm no longer this person I was for so many years, and it's very traumatic. It really is, and that requires obviously, work. And I'm not saying everyone is it's applicable to the work that everybody does, but one defines their remit, and even as a coach, the fine line between coaching and therapy, it might be actually someone has some deep issues that, whilst they're doing some coaching to achieve a goal, they maybe see a therapist in the area that they need therapy in, for whatever that might be, which is key. So on that note, we should break for lunch. I'm sure everyone's identity is around lunch by now, so you're probably thinking on some lunch, and we'll sort of come back and sort of get to work, roll our sleeves up after the break, and work away. So yeah, so we'll have a break, and a nice change from the room with the view as you do. But yeah, there we go. So we break for lunch. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Give us an hour, and you need some time anyway. So some time away from me. Yeah, and a breather.
Quarter to two.
Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.